Hello, family, friends, and fellow movie lovers. Jeffrey Michael here. And welcome to an educational edition of Jeffrey Michael's Movie Reviews Extravaganza. I'm in a particularly good mood this week. A couple days ago, I went to a concert in Detroit, and I saw Troye Sivan live in concert. Oh my god, best time ever, you guys! I had so much fun, and I'm in such a good mood, and I can't wait to get started with the movie review, so here we go. In this video, I'll be reviewing the movies that were released on September the 28th, 2018. Okay, the first movie that I'll review for you is Night School, rated PG-13. It stars Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish, I like her, and was directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who brought you such films like The Best Man, Scary Movie 5, The Best Man Holiday, Barbershop The Next Cut, and Girls Trip. I like that movie too. So Night School, as our main character, is Teddy, played by Kevin Hart. He's living the good life right now. He's the top salesman at a barbecue grill store, and he has a hot girlfriend who comes from a wealthy family, and he also drives a luxury car. You see, the problem is he's not well off, but he has a careful financial strategy, to make it look like he's rich when he's actually not. And it's not long in the movie when he's told that you're the best salesman, you've been employee of the month for several months. The manager says, when I retire soon, I've decided I'm going to leave the store in your name. Really? I'm going to own the store? Yes, I finally made it. And so he's so excited, he decides, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. So later, that night, he goes to back to the store after hours to open up the store. Are you sure we're allowed to be here after hours? Sure, I'm about to own the store anyway. It's practically mine already. And they have a candlelit dinner in the middle of the store when it's dark. And he proposes to her, she says yes, and they're all happy as it can be until he pops open the champagne bottle and the cork goes flying and it releases a valve of a gas tank. Uh-oh. And boom! Explosion! And the store's on fire. And afterwards, the owner, is apparently a shyster because he takes the insurance money and runs off with it. And so now Teddy is now jobless, and he goes to his best friend, Marvin. He asks him, can I be a part of your financial investment firm? I have a position, actually. The problem is, the catch, you need a GED. As we find out in the opening scene of the movie, as a teenager, he tried to take the SAT and he couldn't do it. So he's like, I'm not taking this SAT, I'm leaving. And so he didn't get a high school diploma. And his girlfriend doesn't even know they didn't graduate high school. I mean, great boyfriend, right? And so he has to go back to his old school and he decides, I'm going to charm the principal and get my GED that way. Until he finds out the principal is Stewart, a guy who bullied him back in high school. And of course, that's not going to work. So he has to take the night school courses to get his GED. And it's run by one of the teachers named Carrie, played by Tiffany Haddish. She's the tough as nails authoritarian. You take my class to get your GED. No shortcuts. She means business. And so he has no choice but to take the classes with all his fellow misfit toys group of other classmates. There's a harried working mom, and there's a conspiracy theorist, and a spoiled rich girl, and even a guy who Skypes in, for the class from his jail cell. Great group. And he tries to take the course, and he's really struggling. So Teddy thinks at one point decides, hey, he convinces all of his fellow classmates, let's break into the school after hours and steal the answers to the test. And that, of course, fails miserably. And at that point, Carrie is livid. She's like, ugh, you're going to take my class and pass it, damn it. I mean, they butt heads a lot in this movie. And, he tries and he just can't do it. And, could it be learning disabilities you've never been diagnosed with? Turns out, yes. And so throughout the rest of the movie, through hilarious instincts, aside, he tries really hard. And can he do it? Will he get his GED and finally get his high school diploma? I don't think you need to see this movie to see where it's going, right? Anyway, overall, I mean, this was a nice comedy. That's what I've described, nice. I mean, it wasn't a great movie. I mean, my problem with it was, it tries to be more hilarious than it actually is. I will start off with the positives, though. The two positives are Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Kevin Hart, but I can at least appreciate, his skills as a comedian, why a lot of people would like him anyway. And he does a great job, being his old, loud as obnoxious self. And Tiffany Haddish, I like her. I mean, she was in that movie Girls Trip, like I mentioned, and I really liked that movie, and I was hoping this director's next movie would just be just as good, but no. I mean, she does a great job too in her role. As authoritarian, biatch who is gonna, literally beat the answers out of him. At one point, they're having a fist fight, with boxing gloves. What's the capital of Belgium? Waffles. And but unfortunately, their two great talents can only take a mediocre script so far. That was my big problem with the movie. It was funny in parts, but then lots of the movie, it's just kind of ridiculous and only half funny or not funny at all. And I mean, there's some even parts that just don't make any sense. Like during that whole, like I mentioned, they break into the school to steal the answers. At one point, one of the characters falls off the roof and lands on his back, and you see that his arm is broken out of place. And then a couple scenes later, he's back to normal in the classroom like nothing happened. It's like, I'm pretty sure that kind of injury would require like years of, like months of recovery and physical therapy before you would ever get back to normal. So that's like one part of the movie. It's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Unfortunately, there is quite a few of those in this movie. I mean, overall, great acting from the leads, and they do their best, but a mediocre script, brings them down. And my grade for this movie, I have to give it a C. I'm sorry. It was just average comedy. I mean, Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart, they can do much better than what this movie is. And, they help carry the movie a little bit, but it's still an average comedy. And would I recommend you go see it? Only, I repeat, only if you're a fan of the two actors, Kevin Hart or Tiffany Haddish. Otherwise, I would just wait for their next comedies to come out before you see those in theaters. I mean, this is a movie that probably should have been stuck in detention. Moving on. So the next film that I'll review for you is Smallfoot, rated PG. It stars the voice talents of Channing Tatum, James Corden, Zendaya, Common, and Danny DeVito, and was directed by Carrie Kirkpatrick, who brought you such films like Over the Hedge and the Eddie Murphy movie, Imagine That. Now, Smallfoot is an animated film about a group of Yetis who live on a mountain peak in the Himalayas. It's so far high above the earth that the peak is actually above the clouds, and they can't see the earth below it. And it's then we're introduced to our main character, a Yeti named Migo, voiced by Channing Tatum. Migo always wondered throughout his life if there's anything below the clouds, but according to their laws, there isn't. You see, since the beginning of time, they've been keeping their laws on a bunch of stones, and they're worn by the Stone Keeper, voiced by Common. Yeah, he wears all the stones on his body like a robe, and each stone, there's many of them, has one law written on it. And one of the laws says there's nothing below the clouds, so there's no point in going there. Another law says there's no such thing as Smallfoot, and which they believe it was considered a myth, because they never seen one. And still another law says that a gong must be rung every morning to make sure that the sun goes above the sky, travels over the sky. And so this gong ringer is Dorgal, Migo's father, voiced by Danny DeVito. And Migo hopes to inherit, the role of gong ringer, one day from his father. So he wants to practice. And in order to ring the gong, you have to launch yourself from a slingshot over the village and hit the gong on the other side with your head. Seems kind of pointless. Does this really make the sun go across the sky? Yes, son, it does. The law says. And so one day when he's practicing, he accidentally gets distracted by his crush, Michi, voiced by Zendaya, who's the Stonekeeper's daughter. And he accidentally launches himself, and he misses the gong altogether. And he goes outside the village, flies, because the village is surrounded by mountains. So he goes outside the village and lands outside where no one's ever been. And so it's there that he's, recovering himself from the landing. And he sees something coming out of the sky he's never seen before. We know it, Smallfoot's, as an airplane. And the airplane crashes. And that's when he's introduced to the pilot's knocked out. And so he sees, wait a minute, takes off the guy's shoe. A Smallfoot! They're real! They actually exist! Hi! And then the guy wakes up, the pilot, Bigfoot! And then he, ignites his parachute and jumps over the edge, below the clouds. And so he's amazed that what's just happened, like a Smallfoot exists. And that's what the great, premise of the whole movie is, like, a Smallfoots are like, does Bigfoot actually exist, or is he a myth? It takes that whole concept and turns on its head, and it says, Bigfoot says, does Smallfoot exist, or is it all myth? Get it? And so, he goes back to his village. The plane unfortunately went to the edge of the mountain and went down below the clouds too. So he has no evidence. Guys, small feet exist. It's like, do you have proof? Well, no, not right now. But then I'm sorry, it says in our law, small feet are a myth, and then you have to believe in our laws, otherwise you're banished from the village. But they really do exist. I'm sorry, unless you say they're a myth, that's it. You're banished. And it's like, oh wow, that's an emotional moment. And so he's banished from his village, but then his crush Michi, the Stonekeeper's daughter, and a bunch of other young Yetis take him to their cave and introduce themselves. They're part of the Smallfoot Evidentiary Society, or SES. And they also believe small feet probably exist, and there probably is, evidence of stuff below the clouds. And we want you to be our volunteer to go down and see. Wait, me? Yeah, because you're banished. You have to prove that they exist, otherwise you can't come back to our village. Don't you think you should find them? Yeah, you got a point there. So they decide to lower him on a rope below the clouds, thinking, oh, we only need like 60 feet of rope. That's all we need. And not realizing that it's a huge, steep drop. And at one point, they accidentally let go of the rope, and he's falling down the mountain. Ah! Ah! It's a long way down. And as he's falling and getting down to earth and, finding that there's land below the earth, the movie takes us to a Himalayan village where we're introduced to Percy, voiced by James Corden. He's a wildlife documentary filmmaker, and he's hard in his luck because he hasn't had a hit in years. And it's then when that pilot that Migo encountered is rushing in. Guys, I saw a Bigfoot! Oh my god, it's trying to eat me! A Bigfoot? That's it! That's what will help save my career. A movie about Bigfoot if I can prove his existence. So Percy, goes on, to find him, and it's not long before Migo and Percy, meet face to face. He tries to speak to him in English. Hi, how are you? But all Percy hears is only monster growls, and he's trying to speak too, but all he hears is a little high pitched voice, so they don't understand each other's languages. And so Migo takes an unconscious Percy back to his village, and they're all, small feet exist. Oh my gosh. And at first, they were like, should we be scared of him? And he's like, should I be scared of them? And it's not long before they, through communication through pictures and, gestures, they can realize, hey, we shouldn't be scared of each other. And, they start to, harmonize and come together. But then, other small feet below are trying to, prove the existence of Bigfoot. And, their society is now threatened. Can they, keep their existence a secret? And can Smallfoot and Bigfoot, coexist peacefully in the end? Have to see to find out. Overall, my review for the movie, I would say it was a good animated film, but not a great one. I mean, a great film would be like a Disney or a Pixar film. I mean, like, Coco or Toy Story. I love those movies. But I thought this movie, it was good, but I don't know, I wasn't as engaged with it as I normally would with a great animated film. I mean, I know that a lot of you with families it's a great family film, so you should probably go see it, but I don't know, I just didn't connect well. I mean, there were good jokes and, good heartwarming story in there. But then some parts were flawed and, sometimes it dragged in the middle, like you didn't have a lot going on. And also the songs, they're original songs, but they're forgettable. I mean, I didn't remember a single song when I was leaving, so that's not a good thing. Because, a great Disney movie, you have a great song that you're singing at the end, after leaving the theater. This one, none. So, it was good and, it had some good moments and then some flaws and forgettable moments. And overall, my grade for this, I would give it a B minus. I mean, I know a lot of you would probably like it even more than I did, and you probably will. I mean, the thing is, I can't lie when, I'm not engaged with a movie. But, that's just me, though. I mean, maybe a lot of you probably, go and see it and have a great time. And so, as a family film, I recommend you all go and see it. It'll entertain the youngest of kids and somewhat the adults. It's not a movie for all, but it's still a good time to be had. And, so that's it. Go and see it if you really want to see a good family film. But I wasn't really particularly crazy about it. But, you all might like it, so go for it. Moving on. All right, so the last film that I'll review for you from September the 28th is Hellfest, rated R. It stars Amy Forsyth and was directed by Gregory Plotkin, who brought you the horror film Paranormal Activity: Ghost Dimension. Now, Hellfest is a horror film about a horror theme park called Hellfest that travels across the country to different cities during the Halloween season. And we're introduced to our main character, Natalie, played by Amy Forsyth. She's going to visit her old roommate, Brooke. And when she gets there, she's a little angry to find out that Brooke's new roommate is Taylor, an old classmate she does not get along with. And Brooke was actually surprised because she didn't think Natalie would come, but then she did. And so, okay, we're going to go out tonight, and you're going to come with us. We invited Gavin, your crush, her mutual crush. And Brooke and Taylor bring their respective boyfriends, Quinn and Asher. And the 6 young adults all go out to Hellfest, which has come to their city that night. And they get to Hellfest, and they get VIP bracelets. So they can go to all the front of all the lines and go through all the Halloween attractions. And it's there that the audience, we're introduced to a guy who doesn't show his face, who stalks, very slowly through the park. And at one point he picks up a worker's mask and puts it on, so now we can't see his face at all. And this masked guy goes around, stalking different people in the park. And it's one point when our 6 friends are getting out of one of the attractions, the haunted houses, and now he's about to exit, and then she sees a screaming girl coming out through, and she thinks, oh, this is part of the act. And she sees that girl and that masked guy, who we know the credits, it's called The Other, takes his knife and stabs her. And she says, oh, wow, good acting. Because she's seen stuff like this around the park, people pretending to get killed when they're not, they're just acting. And so then that guy takes that girl's body and drags it and puts it part of the attraction. And she thinks nothing of it and just walks up. Guys, that seems so real back there. And it's not long before they start to realize that same guy is stalking them and stalking her throughout the park. And one by one, they don't see it right at first, but each one of their friends is taken down by the other. And they go throughout the park, and finally, oh, my guy's gonna kill us! And they try and get the authorities involved, like, oh yeah, sure, Hellfest, guy trying to kill you. And they don't buy it. And so then they're trying to get out of the park quickly, but then they can't because it's been gated off. So they're trying to survive the night and see if they can get out before he takes them out. Yeah, typical horror film by now. We know the game. There's the main characters that are brain dead and make stupid decisions, or like, oh, it's all for not at all real. And then the guy who stabs him. There's a lot of gore, and there's a lot of drags a lot, and boredom ensues. Yeah, it's one of those films, a boring horror film, because there are parts in the movie where it's just scenes of them going through the haunted house, and then we don't see the killer at all. So it's might as well be watching someone's home video of going through a haunted house. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, many scenes are like that. Them going through the attractions. It's like, okay, it's we get it. Boredom's setting here. Start showing us something, and they're stupid characters too. And there's not really very inventive kills or gory moments. I mean, to distinguish this from another average run-of-the-mill horror film. And then there's an ending twist in the very last scene that's like, come on, oh my god. At that point, you're checking out, and it's like one last F you to the audience. And overall, my grade for this, and the acting isn't even that great either, to be honest, if we're going to go there, because it's a bunch of unknowns, and, they try their best, but, bad script, bad acting, just bad overall horror film. So back to my grade. I give it a D+. Aside from a few good gory moments, nothing else to ring home here. So even if you're a horror film aficionado, like me, and you want to have a good scary time, this is not the film. I mean, you can go if you want to. I mean, if you're a horror fan, but don't. Anyone else? No, not for you. I mean, this is one theme park you should probably stay at home from. Because I mean, the concept is great. What if you go to one of those haunted houses that exists in real life, and the attraction is actually real and trying to kill you, but it's just not inventive and not good and not worth your time. So avoid. Moving on. Hey, you guys, you got to keep your head down and study hard if you hope to pass this recap. Recap, everyone. Night School, C. A mediocre comedy that's somewhat boistered by its 2 main leads, Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. It's somewhat funny, but I don't recommend this one. Smallfoot, B-. A good, funny, heartwarming film with a clever concept, despite its flaws and forgettable songs. But I still recommend that the whole family go to see it. The kids will love it. And finally, Hellfest, D+. Despite a few good gory moments, this is just another run-of-the-mill boring horror film with bad acting, a bad story, bad twist, just bad everything. Even if you're a horror fan, I don't recommend this one at all. And that'll do it for an educational edition of Jeffrey Michaels Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Until next time, happy movie watching, everybody! And stay tuned for my next video when I will review Venom and A Star is Born.